The game's afoot. Gamification in the warehouse is the topic of my conversation today with Ken Rutar. He is Chief Marketing Officer of Lucas Systems. Hi, Ken.
How you doing, Bob?
Good. Thanks for sitting down with me about this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Ken, we're talking today about gamification. Would you define that term for me as it relates to warehouse and logistics and supply chain?
Yeah, I mean, the term gamification, Bob, comes from what you would expect. That folks like playing games. But when it comes to actually gamification, what we really mean is game mechanics. And game mechanics are the elements that come out of the fact that people really enjoy playing games of all sorts. And so game mechanics are things like putting up leaderboards in the warehouse so folks can see how they're doing, creating competitions across teams or workers against themselves, or even distribution center to distribution, and making it a lot more fun. It's about bringing rewards and recognition into the workplace and tying it into the work that you want them to do. So it's not about workers playing games all day, as you might think from the word gamification. It's bringing those elements of game mechanics into the workplace so that workers can be more engaged, and generally they're more productive, but that's not the goal. But generally it's about hiring and keeping the workforce that you have.
Well, I want to hear more about worker feedback in a moment, but let me just first ask you, how did it occur to you, and why did you bring gamification into this environment as a way to solve some pretty obvious problems and issues that we're seeing in warehouses today?
Yeah. Bob, we've been in the warehouse distribution business, selling software to warehouse and distribution companies for 25 years. And the software we sell actually is used by workers. So we spend a lot of time in warehouses talking to workers, and the number one issue that our customers have is about finding enough workers and keeping them. The churn is still very high in this industry. It's very expensive to train up workers only to have them leave and go down to the next distribution center that's maybe paying a little bit more money. Most of the warehouse distribution operators have already raised their wages and benefits as much as they can pay, and there's a limit to that.
Yeah.
So the real challenge that our customers have is, how do I make my warehouse a place that workers really want to stay, and give my warehouse a competitive advantage when it comes to the workforce?
Yeah. Well, you did a market study in which you tried to elicit the response and reaction of workers to gamification. What did you find? What insights were there?
Yeah, so we're very curious about the topic. We think that generally the topic is one that can has a great promise for the future of solving this labor challenge, or at least making one warehouse more competitive than the other. So we went out and did a survey of 750 warehouse workers and supervisors, both in the US and the UK. But we also did dozens of interviews with managers and supervisors and executives, because we wanted to really find out, is this really true? Would workers really accept this kind of stuff? What are some of the pitfalls? How would you go about doing this? And so the big thing that we found is that 84% of the workers that we surveyed said that they would stay at a place that provided workplace competitions versus going somewhere else. So that's an extremely high number, right? And so it says that there can be a big impact on retention by taking on these kind of game mechanics in the workplace. Probably the other thing that we found is that this isn't new to a lot of workers. Some 94% of workers are already doing some kind of game in their personal life.
Really?
Online gaming, board gaming, a part of a fitness community that you're competing online with virtual players, online betting. All of this is fueling the gamification craze. So if you put gamification in the warehouse, it's not surprising. Folks are already familiar with it. They're way ahead of you.
Interesting. But I could see two different types of perceptions that might result. One is, as you just told me, a worker enjoys the idea of being in a competitive environment. The other is that competitive environment could add pressure to the worker, that they would resent it.
Yeah.
The leaderboard, it's like, who wants to do that? And yet you're telling me that they do.
Yeah, it's really surprising some of the things we learned. Folks are very open to leaderboards. They're, an overwhelming percentage of the workers are saying, it's fine, put my performance up. I don't think it's actually a new thing in the warehouse that workers' performance is something that everybody is capable of seeing.
Yeah.
So I think what we learned a lot about the study is workers are far ahead of this. They're ready. They're not worried about their names being on leaderboards. They're not worried about competing. In fact, they want to. And we also learned that workers like competing as a team, right? They want to be part of a team. They want to have a sense of ownership and involvement. They want to learn from other workers, where normally warehouse work can be very individual. So there's a lot of very positive things that came out of this. And that's one of the reasons we really wanted to find out more about gamification, to try to put to bed some of these perceptions. As you said, will workers really want this? How will they feel about leaderboards? And a lot of positive things around it.
If it is a proven method then, why aren't more businesses and facilities using it?
Yeah. So what we found is that there's many DCs that are doing parts of gamification. It's not unusual to see worker performance printouts on paper, posted on a cork board. Workers get on and see how they're doing this week. But I think to really make it work, it has to be easy, right? Imagine if you were a supervisor and you could come in and open up your game configurator and say, today or this month, I'm going to set this up. Here's the teams, here's the folks participating, here's the things we're going to measure, here's how I want my leaderboard to look. And it made it easy for them to do that. More and more of this would happen.
Do you see in the future more uptake on this? Do you think now that the more and more facilities will be turning to gamification as a method?
I think we're on the cusp of this being one of the next big waves of workforce engagement.
Yeah.
I think as companies start investing more in technology that helps facilitate gamification, I think we'll see more and more uptake on this topic.
You mentioned technology. Do you think that is a key enabler of this whole method, that without it, it might not work as well, or if at all?
You can make it happen, but it's a lot more work. I think where tech comes in is really this notion of making it easier, right? How do I set up these games? Now, no supervisor or manager wants to spend hours putting this together.
Yeah.
So easier facilitates it. The other piece of the tech is, how do you communicate with the workers? They want feedback. So there's tech that workers have that's, you could say, how am I doing? Am I in first place? They don't want to go to the leaderboard. They want it right then. So there's two places I think the tech can make a big difference.
Well, thanks so much, Ken, for explaining to me just how gamification plays an important role in warehouses and logistics today. I do appreciate those insights.
Yeah.
Can I ask you just for a moment about Lucas Systems specifically? How do you guys fit into the picture?
Yeah, Bob, we're Lucas Systems. We're a software company. We make software for warehouse workers, supervisors to do their jobs easier, faster, better, which is why gamification is a very important topic for us. We've been in business 25 years. We operate in over 400 warehouses across the world.
Thanks again, Ken. I really appreciate your insights.
All right, thank you.
I have been speaking with Ken Rutar of Lucas Systems. Thank you very much for watching.